We're having so much fun. We're going to keep going, folks. Our team coverage of the banks continuing. I want to bring back Adam Shapiro, Robert Gray, Erica Payne of the Roosevelt Institute. Okay, Erica, I gave you a couple of minutes to think about that question. He's asking you about personal responsibility and the folks that took out the loans. Erica.
So, all right. So I didn't even need a couple of minutes. I think that this all comes down to a question of values. And are we as a society going to tax people who work for a living, or are we going to tax people who gamble for a living? Are we going to spend our time building businesses that make things, or are we going to spend our time building banks who speculate?
Erica, you totally, I don't want to be condescending, but what you just said betrays an ignorance.
Really?
It betrays an ignorance of the role that banks perform. Listen, we can have a discussion about vulgar pay packages, but bankers and banks create wealth. That is a commodity. It is a product. And
that's
credit,
actually not true.
It is true.
Bankers, there is a single purpose to the financial sector. The financial sector's purpose is to finance businesses so that business can be the engine of our prosperity. What happened in this instance is that the finance sector, the tail started wagging the dog. The finance sector got completely out of control, and instead of addressing it, we have a number of people asleep at the wheel.
You draw blanket conclusions and broad conclusions with half-truths. And I have to tell you that the banking industry, and I'm no expert on this, but you really should read A Scent of Money by Neil Ferguson. The banking industry provides a vital role not only to business, but to consumers and to government.
I absolutely agree with
that. Listen, I will side with you on the vulgarity of these pay packages, but to say they don't produce anything is just an outright lie and betrays your ignorance.
Can I jump in a second?
That's actually not true. Banks have a single purpose in our society, and they have gone off purpose.
Erica,
that's the part that we need to understand.
Okay, let's talk about the Dunstan.
I just want the politics of it, and I don't want to pile on either. Believe me, I'm shedding no tears for guys who at a minimum are making $400,000, $500,000, and at the higher end, 7-8 figures. My question is, it seems sort of obvious that these guys are being scapegoated. That everyone was to blame. Lots of people, from the homeowners who allowed that took out refinanced on homes that clearly weren't worth what they were worth, accepted loans, just on and on and on. It goes around in a big circle. But to scapegoat this particular segment of the people who are to blame seems obviously political.
Okay.
And where do you stand on that?
Erica?
I think it's a great point that you brought up. And I had this conversation with my sister down in Alabama, who is a right-wing conservative, and we have lively debates back and forth. And she asked me this exact same question a couple weeks ago. And what I told her is that I absolutely do not believe that someone should take a loan out that they cannot afford. I don't think they should be in a house that they cannot afford, and I think that they should show some financial sense when they are making those decisions. Totally agree with you. No argument here. But the question is, does that person's decision affect my life? How does that person's decision to make a bad choice affect my ability to make good choices?
You're experiencing the results of that bad choice. We all are.
There's something that sits in between their bad action and the effect on me. And the thing that sits in the middle of it is the finance sector of the economy and these financial institutions. And so there are two things that we need to do. One is to address the problem that we had, and the second is to make sure it doesn't happen again. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that the system that makes these two things connected is functioning, so that when this thing fails, it doesn't affect me. So if somebody takes out a loan they can't afford, then I should not have to pay for it by the fact that the value on my house went down like 16 million houses are now underwater. Well, but it's the system in between that needs fixing. And at the same time, I'd say we do need, as a society, to take significantly more personal responsibility for our choices.
I'll let your talking points in. I want to give last word to Robert Gray, patient enough to stand by. A lot of populist anger.
Lively discussion, yes.
A lot of discussion, and people are angry about the bonuses. Yep. Does Wall Street change how they do bonuses going forward from this?
They're already giving a smaller percentage away. More of it is going in stock. You heard them talking about it at J.P. Morgan this morning. It's still going to be large numbers out there. And before you start, running the bankers out of town, keep in mind, we had Governor Patterson on the other day for New York talking about 22% of tax revenue coming from the financial system. So you really have to be very careful. You don't gut out the tax revenue base here for New York. I know the more you get outside of New York, you have a different set of issues there coming up from large shareholders who tell me they would love to see some of this coming back to them in the form of dividends starting to expand once again. Jamie Dimon hinting it's not going to come till later in 2010.
All right, Robert Gray, Erica Payne, Adam Shapiro, all of you, thank you very much. That was a great time. I got to take a quick commercial break. When I come back, tax time again, folks. The countdown to April 15th.